record? Hey, spotlight for everybody. Are we ready? We're ready to open the rooms. All right. Blessings, everybody.
Blessings, everybody. Oh my goodness. Welcome to the first ever Authors Showcase. And I am so grateful and so happy that you have joined us tonight. Tonight is going to be all,
Okay,
oh, and maybe we can mute everybody, Jenny. That would be awesome. Jenny is our awesome, she's one of our authors, and she's also kind of running the show behind the scenes. So, yay, Jenny. So tonight is all about 7 authors, 4 celebrity publishing professionals for our panel. Try saying that 10 times fast. And it's all on one night, which is tonight, live, and you are all with us. And some people will be getting this recording later, but there are some of you who are here and you are live, and we are so grateful that you are live with us. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am Kelly Sullivan Walden, aka Dr. Dream, and I am a published author of 10 books, 7 oracle card decks, and 2 journals. And some of those books have won awards and they reached bestseller status on
You don't need
Amazon.com.
to turn it down. They can't hear us.
Yeah, actually, they can. So at some point, everybody make sure you're muted. We'll be muting behind the scenes, but so I don't tell you my little bio here to be braggadocious. I say it to create some contrast because it wasn't. So I feel empowered as an author, but once upon a time I wasn't empowered. In fact, I felt incredibly disempowered. I was an actress in my 20s in Hollywood in the 90s, and I wrote a whole memoir about it that will be my 11th book, hopefully, or 12th book that will be coming out one of these days. But it was all about the time when I gave my power away to everybody who I thought was a gatekeeper, was an important person. And during that time, I was a great big people pleaser, and I just wanted you to love me, to like me, to give me the green light, to tell me I was good, to tell me that I was somebody. And for every part I got, and I did get a few parts, I worked with Clint Eastwood and Forrest Whitaker and Anthony Edwards on ER and some other things. But for every one part I got, there were hundreds I didn't get. And my self esteem just felt like a punching bag. And I was always waiting for that green light, and more often than not, it didn't come. And then finally, the artist way came to my life. And in the artist way, thank you, Julia Cameron, I began to do morning pages. And those morning pages became what eventually would be my first book, Discover Your Inner Goddess Queen, an inspirational journey from drama queen to goddess queen. And it was so mind blowing to me that I could just give myself that damn green light that I was looking for everywhere else, that I could make something myself. I didn't need anybody's permission. I did it myself. I self published that book. My other books since have been published with different publishers, established publishers. But what was amazing was having my first book in my hands was a revelation to me that I could do this. I became high. I became obsessed with the empowerment of being an author. And I'm the type that likes to, when I find something great that I love, I like to share it with other people. So when I would come across somebody with a great story or great wisdom, I would tell them, you know what I'm about to say. You gotta write a book. Oh my God, you gotta write a book. And after years of doing this, I got really frustrated because 99% of those people that I badgered with, you got to write a book, didn't write a book. And I thought, I need another strategy. So I started to take matters in my own hands. I started to coach people. Every time I would hear people with one of these great stories, I'd say, I just need to put them in a little author's incubator, some kind of an empowered space that I didn't have back then, so that we could actually get these books done. And because I discovered after I started to work with authors that we don't have to just wait until the book comes out to feel that empowerment. We can feel empowered as we move along the journey. So that's what we're doing here. The authors showcase is authors that have been working with me, with each other for the last 12 weeks in a row. They've been working on many different essays that will become their books one day. And instead of waiting until the book comes out to have this big monumental celebration that sometimes doesn't even come, some authors put out a book and there's no fanfare, no fireworks, nothing. But we thought, let's have some celebrations along the way. So this is a milestone moment. And not only are we celebrating together that we have written a really strong piece for our book, but I thought we'd bring in some professionals from the publishing industry to share their wisdom and to weigh in and give some constructive feedback to our authors so that this could be a real useful night, not just for the authors, but my intention is that this be useful for everybody who's watching, because we're all creators, whether you think of yourself as a creator, whether you think of yourself as an author yet or not, you are a creator. And when we're around other creators, it tends to be, to me, it's like church. Writing has become my spiritual path. So my intent, because I know we're all going through something hard in our lives, something challenging. My last book was called A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste. So I like that motto so much. I don't want us to waste any of our crises. I want us to hold those in our hearts. Some of us have recently lost people. Some of us have loved ones that have been going through a health crisis. Some of us are the ones that have been going through the health crisis. I want you to allow some of what you hear tonight to be like little droplets of medicine that can go into your heart and that can empower you and inspire you. And if you are an author or somebody that wants to be an author, I hope this really fans the flames of your author's journey and author's intention. And at the end of the class tonight, or at the end of the showcase, I should say, I have a little gift for those of you who are interested in becoming an author and getting the support that these other 7 authors have. So if that is you, hang on until the very end, and I'll give you a way to get a little extra gift from me/us. Okay. So before I introduce our celebrity panel, I want to give you a few little housekeeping items to keep in mind. So you are going to want to say things when you hear some of the things, some of the reading, some of the stories that you're going to hear tonight. They're going to move and touch you so much that it's going to be constipating to have to hold it all in. I don't want anybody to be constipated tonight. Sorry, that's a little gross. So that's why God made the chat. So if you feel moved to chat to one of the authors who's reading, like, you go girl, that was amazing, oh my God, I went through that too, or keep going, or hey, this might make a better title, or I suggest, if it's constructive feedback, try that too. We want to do it all in the spirit of love, but you can put all of that in the chat. And also Jenny is going to, if she hasn't already, she's going to share a program in the chat so that you can see who you're going to be listening to. There's a little bio with a title and description, and even an email address or a website or a social media tag. So if you want to give some additional feedback, you don't have to do this. You can just receive it all if you want. But if you want to give additional feedback, feel free to follow up with the authors if you like. Okay, so let me see. Am I missing any other? Nancy T, am I missing any other? I think I've got them all, but
I think you got it. As long as people stay muted.
Yes, stay muted, please. Stay muted, and let's see. I'm grateful that you're here. Okay, so I'm going to first tell you a little bit about Deborah Jacobs, our first celebrity panelist. Deborah Jacobs, who is my agent, by the way. She's been my goddess, my hero, my angel. And she just helped me book a pretty extraordinary book deal with a dream publisher. So Deborah,
you can tell them.
I know I haven't signed
them.
the contract yet, but it's
You can
almost
tell them it's done.
It's with St. Martin's Press, which is like, so Deborah is a goddess, and if you could, you'd want to like touch the hem of her garment. But here's a little bit about her. She is a successful literary agent and my successful literary agent. She owns Dancing Word Group Agency since 2008. She represents both mainstream and higher consciousness authors. She is an influential businesswoman and speaker. She founded and served as editor-in-chief of Mystic Pop for 9 years. She's also the author. She's not just an agent, but she's also an author now of A Happy Move. And she's been my agent for the past 20 years. And congratulations on A Happy Move, Deborah. How was
Great,
that
thank you.
to not only be an agent, but to recognize what your authors go through?
I had so much sympathy for my authors after
Yeah.
the release and the PR and the interviews and yeah. But I know what you mean of having that feeling of it in your hands.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, it's so exciting. So thank you, Deborah, for being with us. I am so darn grateful. And one thing I love about Deborah, I just have to say this, is that she is super super spiritual, like way spiritual and so grounded. And I want to say that I think of actually all of the celebrity publishing panelists are that, which is really special. I don't know that it's that common to be this in this really pretty can be a brutal industry, but to really be this spiritual person that walks her talk in this business. So I just want to acknowledge you, Deborah. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's bring to the stage Angela A. Wicks, formerly an acquiring editor at Llewellyn worldwide for nearly 12 years. Angela, where are you? Come. There she is. Thank you, Jenny. Formerly an acquiring editor at Llewellyn Worldwide for nearly 12 years, Angela is currently an editor at Sounds True, 4 books on personal transformation, wellness, and spirituality. She's also an author and artist. Some of her works include Llewellyn's Little Book of Unicorns. Ah, oh my God, I love that book so much. The Secret Psychic, and she's not so secret these days since the book came out, and Finding Your Calm. Her website is angelaannwicks.com, and you can find her on Angela A. Wicks on Facebook and Instagram. And by the way, I didn't mention Deborah's website. It's dancingwordgroup.com. But Angela, I've had the blessing of interviewing her several times for the other iteration of the Authors Showcase, but also on my radio show. And you are such a I just feel like you are a sister from another mister. And I just love you so
Same.
much. Yeah. Thank you for
you.
being with us, Angela.
Yes, I'm really glad to be here.
And I'm just introducing you all. So I'm not, we're not going to hear from you just yet, but we will in just a moment. So bring out Thea Rademacher. So Thea, I'm going to tell you about her as Jenny loads her up. Thea is the president and founder of Flint Hills Publishing. Flint Hills is a hybrid press dedicated to the creation of inspiring, educational, and thoughtful books. Their catalog is eclectic, socially conscious, fiction, memoir, historical, nonfiction, spiritual, and personal growth, young adult cookbooks, and children's books. The website is flinthillspublishing.com. And I got to meet Thea because of an author she represents, Royce. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting Royce's name. Fitz! Oh my gosh, Royce Fitz. And I got to read his pre-publication book. I loved it, Geography of the Soul. And in it, he acknowledges Thea. And when he talked about finding Thea, he was somebody who sent his book out to 5,000 publishers. Everyone said no. And his book is fantastic. But Thea was like, oh, I think I can do something with this. She was his angel. And the way he talks about her, she's just a godsend. And she is somebody who really walks her talk and is just a great spiritual, beautiful soul. And I'm so grateful to know you, Thea. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Kelly. You made my day. Excited to be here.
You make my day. Thank you, Thea. Okay, last but not least, Aurora Winter. Aurora Winter has an MBA. She is the CEO of Same Page Publishing, which specializes, and Aurora is coming up. I know it. Here she is. She is, Same Page Publishing specializes in publishing award-winning books. She's also an award-winning best-selling author of fiction and nonfiction. Her latest fantasy series, there we go, is Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, which just launched on Kickstarter, by the way, and on its first day funded 3 times over her target. And this book is,
Yay.
I'm covered in chills. It is
Yeah,
so
this one.
magical. It's like
Yeah.
Harry Potter, whatever. It is Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, whatever.
Aw,
Magic, Mystery, and the
thank you.
Multiverse. So I really want everybody
And there's a
to
second
go
book.
to Kickstarter and put in Aurora Winter, because Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse is kind of hard to spell. If you might misspell it. So just look up Aurora Winter on Kickstarter and participate in her launch, because she still has amazing gifts. And you can also see what somebody has done for a book launch, which is very clever and innovative and very successful and actually profitable. What a concept.
I like
I've
it.
known Aurora
Thanks, Brian.
personally for so many years. Our first books came out probably the same week
Yeah.
back, and Reverend Michael at Agape introduced both of us and said, "You two need to know each other." It was like an arranged marriage.
Soul
And I'm like,
sister.
yes, I'm supposed to know her. So I'm always, every time I talk to Aurora, I always feel inspired on a creative level, but also on a marketing level. This woman is a marketing friggin' genius. And I'm so grateful that you are with us tonight, Aurora.
Thanks for including me, Kelly. I love it.
Okay, so now we're going to bring out the authors. Now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, we are going to meet our authors. Our very first brave and beautiful author is Judy Ray Books. Oh, that's funny. Judy Ray Brooks, but tonight she's Judy Ray Books. Judy Ray Brooks is a television and radio personality that brings a wealth of media and metaphysical experience to her role as creator and co-host of Healing Quest, the acclaimed television series on natural and integrative health, airing for 13 seasons on PBS stations across the country, and she's presently in pre-production on season 14, which will be airing soon. She founded Lightbridge Media in 1996 with a mission to create entertaining, enlightening, and empowering content. She hosts the Wild Women Wisdom podcast, among other healing modalities. She's also a dream work practitioner, so I have to just give her that. And maybe you can bring her up even as I'm finishing reading her memoir. I'm reading her memoir. I am reading her memoir page by page, but the rest of her bio is tonight she's going to be reading an excerpt from her memoir in progress, known as House of Secrets, about the recent discovery of a secret her mother took to her grave. Her website is healingquest.tv, and her email is judy@healingquest.tv. Judy, take it away. Take it away, Judy.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, I don't have to really introduce myself because you just did that. So I can
Yeah.
just get right to the piece. Right?
Absolutely. In fact, all the authors just get right to your piece. I'm going to be introducing everybody.
Oh,
So-
she made us do an introduction and now we don't have to do more practice. Okay, so right to the piece. The piece that I am reading tonight is from a memoir. I'm going to move you guys over here so I can get it, so I can see it. A House of Secrets is the working title, and the piece I'm going to be reading tonight is an excerpt from A Mother of a Lie. Okay. Well, your family's history is just waiting to be discovered. That's the latest technology you can bring. Thanks to the latest technology, you too can bring your lineage to life like never before. Well, that's one of the promises you get with a DNA test. How about this for a commercial? Are you eager to discover the hidden lies and betrayals in your family? Send us your $125 and a vial of your saliva so you too can uncover secrets, surprises, and scandals. Sitting outside with a glass of wine and jasmine-scented air, I answered the phone to hear my sister Nancy screaming through tears. "You knew, didn't you?" Well, she was devastated, furious, and hysterical, and she was telling me she had her test results from Ancestry.com. Through her tears, she splurted out, I'm 51% Sicilian and we're not Italian. She was referring to a time over 40 years ago when she was lamenting the fact that she didn't look like the rest of the family. Why do I have curly hair and dark brown eyes? Why aren't they blue like yours and Gary's? To which I offhandedly replied, because your father was Italian. Well, how did I know this? We often made up outrageous stories to see if we could fool the other one. And once we convinced them it was true, we would confess it wasn't real. It was one of our gotcha games. My parents were married 64 years, raised 3 children, spread over 3 decades, starting with me. We had what appeared to be the perfect middle-class family. At a time when we're seeing attitudes towards sexuality become more forgiving, some things are still taboo, and this was one of them. Did I consciously know? No, but on some level I must have. Being a little empathic sponge, I felt an undercurrent that was always there. I imagine it took a great deal of my mother's energy to keep that part of her life hidden. I admit I was not completely surprised with Nancy's news. One of my cousins came forward with this tasty little with Nancy's news, one of my cousins came forward with this tasty little news bite. On my aunt's deathbed, she said, write this name down. Bob isn't Nancy's father. This is his name. With that, she released a long-held secret, unlike my mother, who took it to her internment. As soon as Nancy said her bio-father's last name, well, I knew immediately who he was. He was a friend of the family. I guess the expression now would be he was mom's friend with benefits, including a kid. He was a good-looking guy, dark curly hair, brown eyes, very charming, sharp dresser. Well, now we know where Nancy got her nose. She looked so much like him, it's hard to imagine anyone who knew him wouldn't have seen the resemblance, including my dad, which might explain why he sometimes spanked Nancy just a little too hard. He was part of the gang that hung out at our house. Mom had a lot of friends. She was fun to be around. Ours was a gathering place for both adults and kids. We had a round kitchen table, light honey-colored solid wood top. You could see the rings from the tree trunk through the lacquer and almost feel the energy of the tree, as if it had been grown just to live in our kitchen for her. The whimsy of the turquoise painted pedestal matched the captain's chairs and the painted circle around the edge of the tabletop. The chairs were upholstered with light pink leather seats, complementing the unusual choice of colors. It made a statement and matched Mom's personality, colorful, fun, and not typical in any way. It was the center of our home and where she often held court and enchanted visitors. She also said, he's not Gary's father either. Well, sadly, my brother passed away 18 years ago, so our next task was to get his daughter, my niece's DNA tested to make sure what my aunt said was true about Gary's paternity. No surprise, it came back with several connections to my brother's previously unknown big Italian family. Turns out Gary's biological father was our next door neighbor. He was also Italian, but a more rugged type, a fireman, in fact, who spent a lot of time at our house. He didn't have an 8-to-5 job like my dad. One summer day, he offered to take Mom, Nancy, and me to the California State Fair. We went on rides, played carnival games, and ended up at the horse races. That was fun. I picked my own horses, and then they bet on them. I still remember walking back to the car. I was pushing Nancy in the stroller, and Mom and Phil were laughing. And then I noticed he was holding her hand. It made me really very uncomfortable. I turned to him and I said, "Stop holding my mother's hand. You're not my dad." Well, they were surprised that I even noticed. And after all, I was just a kid. But the energy changed. I kept pushing the stroller with this feeling in my stomach that I wasn't familiar with yet. But I knew something felt off. It was a feeling I would come to know and recognize as a gut feeling. My instincts that something was hidden were working even as a young teenager. Nancy wanted me to send in my samples so we could see how much DNA we shared. Well, I wasn't worried about finding out I had a different father. I knew my story. After I was born, my parents tried for years to get pregnant again. So when Mom got pregnant with Nancy, she declared it a miracle. I look like my dad. I have his blue eyes. I was thin and wiry like him, also stubborn. Everyone said how much I looked like him, and secretly I knew I was his favorite. I sent my sample off anyway. I couldn't believe it when my results came back way more Irish than I already knew. Portuguese and Irish from mom, but no German like dad. Once I found this out, I asked my cousin, did Auntie reveal any surprises about me? Her response was, yes. She said Judy's father was a sailor. It truly was the gift that kept on giving. Turns out none of us have the same father, and none of them were the dad that raised us. And we will never really know my parents' full love story. It's complicated, to say the least. As a kid, I remember hearing them getting out of bed after midnight and being in the kitchen cooking and laughing. As a grown-up, I figured out what was in the frying pan wasn't the only thing in the kitchen that was hot. They always had a great deal of passion, both loving and volatile. Discovering the depths of my parents' love story actually makes me love them both even more than when I thought I couldn't live without them. Mom was willing to live her life unapologetically, even if it was secret and messy. This news arrived at a time in history when our culture seems in some ways to be growing more tolerant of love in all its configurations, even with some forces trying to pull us backwards. I could turn this into a story of betrayal, secrets, lies, leaving lasting scars, but that's not the way I choose to remember my mother. I recall the bigger than life, beautiful, funny, generous, charming body, occasionally mean woman. She was a stay-at-home mom, very hands-on. Dad may not have been our she was my best friend. Dad may not have been our biological father, and whether he knew about our paternity or not, we'll never know for sure. It doesn't really matter. He loved us all and showed it in many ways. His dry sense of humor was one of the things I loved the most. He was also often serious and stern with his piercing blue eyes, but I always knew I could depend on him to have my back, right up until the day he passed. His last words to me were, I love you. Promise me you'll take care of yourself as well as you do others. When I forget to do that, I hear Dad reminding me of my promise. I often feel both of them guiding me. A parent can be more than a bloodline. If you're lucky, it's a soul connection. I believe our soul's main purpose is to spread love. And I can honestly say, in spite of all their human flaws, I finally learned from my parents how to love unconditionally.
Yay, Judy. We're all clapping, hear the roar of applause. So let's
Thank you.
bring our celebrity panelists to the main screen. Let's do a spotlight with Devra. And Devra, you're up first. Would you like to any feedback for Judy? Anything constructive? However, how did it land on you? I'm going to zip it and hand it over to you for a minute.
I don't represent memoirs, but per se, but I love memoirs and I love to read memoirs. I think what I liked the most about it was your details. I could be in the living room. I could see and feel, and that's something a lot of authors forget to do. They leave out either the emotional or the physical details when they're telling a story. So no, I liked it. I think it's good.
Very cool. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. And just so everybody knows how it's going to go, we'll have all the panelists give about a minute feedback. So let's bring up Angela, and we can have them all, if we can spotlight all of them, that would be really great. So go ahead, Angela.
Okay.
What was your feedback on Judy's piece?
Yeah, so I don't acquire memoirs, but I work with material that is very story centric and incorporates story a lot. I love the title, The House of Secrets. I think it's so intriguing. I think it is an immediate, really great hook. And I really appreciate the humor in your starting paragraph. That caution around the DNA tests themselves, like it repeatedly, if any of you have gotten a test, when you're submitting it, it repeatedly asks you, are you sure? Are you really sure? Because you might find out some things that you don't want to know. So I think they've learned, and now they caution you before you actually submit these tests. And so I really appreciate you acknowledging that, and also offering the reader an example of like what this actually looks like when you find out the things that you didn't necessarily think you might find out. I also think the detail is really lovely. There's a great balance here. And just as kind of a side note, it had me thinking of the bridges of Madison County. It just kind of had that bit of a storyline feel to it. And I really love the family acceptance of parents as dynamic humans. I think that runs really deeply here and it's just very lovely. So great job.
I'm going to
Thanks,
speak up
Angela.
here for a second. So keep note of that for your book proposal, that comparison to Bridges of Madison County. And I think, and I'm getting the chills as I think about this, when the book does come out, it's always great to connect your story to something that's very mainstream and talk aboutable, and DNA testing and the 23andMe, there's always some kind of buzz about that. So it'd be a great thing to parlay or kind of, talk about your book, but also talk about something that people are already talking about. Can I say talk about one more time in that sentence? Okay. Thea.
Yeah, that would be a great way to get on podcasts and radio and TV with the
Yes.
hook,
Oh,
of what's happening in the news with the DNA tests.
Yeah.
All right. So if you would like to take this piece to the next level, my background's in film and television, so I'm always looking for the story to have a dramatic arc. I felt that the story could have a much stronger beginning, middle, and end. So you could have set us up to have one expectation and then ended the other way or the reverse. I felt like it sort of unfolded, but there wasn't a dramatic beginning, middle, and end. So if you'd like to pick another pass, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, this is an excerpt. There's a lot more of that in the actual story. So that we had to have the 3 pages. So there's more. There's more. And my background is in film and television too. I really would like to see this as a limited series with my mom's story for 3 decades of a different kid from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Very cinematic. Very, very. So that's
not intended to trigger defensiveness. Just
no. Oh, I'm not defending. I know. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you said. You're right on.
The other things I really like that others have commented on, the little detail about the colors of the kitchen table and her choices that went with her character, the details of them holding hands and you noticing and the energy change those leapt out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could we have a little more detail on the people? Because when it's Nancy or your cousin, or I don't have a context, they're not as.
You're right. You're right on. You're right on. That's
Good job, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you.
I picture this limited series with whoever would be like a young Elizabeth Taylor, like the woman who played Wonder Woman, playing your mom, like just this bombshell, like kind of
she got compared to Ava Gardner.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we want to see that. You got to write the script. All right, Thea Rademacher, you're.
Thank you, Judy. Write your book because I really want to read this book. I thought your pacing was terrific. Your writing has a lot of punch. Now, I kind of thought the opposite about the organization, but I'm a book publisher. I don't have TV movie experience. I thought the organization actually helped to build interest. I liked your use of humor, but given the seriousness of the topic, I think I'd be mindful of, you don't want to get too cheeky about it. And the reason I say that is because this is an important topic to me personally. I found out when I was 49 that my mother had kept a big secret, and the man who'd raised me was not my father. When that was 11 years ago, and she told me that she had been raped. Well, think about the context. We didn't have even the term date rape, in our vocabulary. And on her deathbed, she took it back and said, "No, I absolutely loved your biological father." This is a very important topic. Of course, I've done some research on it, and it's shocking how many people have this experience in their family. I have a family member who works in a lab, and she's like, "Thea, you wouldn't believe how many times we're doing blood work and we find out that, the paternity is not, what the person thought it was. So it's an important topic. And I'm excited for you, particularly given that you're in this wonderful metaphysical space, because there are so many fantastic spiritual lessons that will be a springboard for this. And I got excited at the end when you were talking about those ideas. So I'm I'm anxious to see what you're going to uncover, because they're important spiritual lessons here.
That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Well
Thank you,
done.
everybody,
Thank you,
so
thank you.
much. Okay, one more time. Big a round of applause for our wonderful celebrity panelists. And Judy Brooks, thank you so much. All right. By the way, we're not going to be taking any potty breaks. So if you need to, just close your Zoom. You don't have to just shut everything out. Just turn off the video. We don't want to see you actually going into the bathroom. That's why God made that little strike through the video. So if you need to do that, take care of yourselves while we go. All right, next up is Joey Sutton. So I'm going to read her little bio while Jenny brings Joey to the stage. Joey Sutton, besides being my BFF, is a holistic health counselor and a mother of a son who struggles with schizoaffective disorder. This led her to become a mental health educator for the NAMI organization. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. She's a certified holistic health counselor, former LA hairstylist, author of numerous ebooks on health and wellness, and is currently a co-host with moi. And the name of the podcast is Anatomy of Friendship, that just got nominated for Women in Podcasting, an award, by the way. It's nominated, so everybody go vote. We'll send the link later. The memoir in progress that she is working on, that she'll be reading from tonight, is entitled Falling in Love with Your Shadows, Healing the Dysfunctional Family Within. This piece, her book is about Joey's colorful family and intimate relationships with people with mental illness, drug addiction, workaholism, and alcoholism. Her website is Love Your Way to Health. And take it away, Joey.
Thanks for being here, everybody. So Aurora, this is just one piece inside of the book in case it doesn't have the perfect arc. So I still want your comments, okay? Dating a Woman, Santa Monica, California, June 26, 2002. As a young LA hairdresser, I had the privilege to work with thousands of eclectic clients, rock stars and repairmen, actors and architects, models and moms, prostitutes and producers, and the whole rainbow between. Nick, aka Nicole, was one such athletic client on that rainbow. In the late 80s, our first consultation began with me saying, "Friends don't let friends have mullets." 14 years after removing that mullet, I was still her trusted hairdresser. All 5 feet and 10 inches of her Calvin Klein model-looking androgynous self entered through the tall black door of my salon. I lit up as I scanned her cool look. Straight leg jeans, a plaid Western shirt rolled up to her elbows, and long bangs falling over each side of her emerald eyes. "Hi, Joey, how are you?" she said. We met in our greeting embrace. "Better now," I said. As a petite woman of 5'2", in the warmth of late June, I wore a short, flowy skirt, and with a lift from my red and black boots, my nose just reached the crook of Nick's neck. Intoxicated by the woodsy scent of patchouli, I said, "You smell so good." "You always say that," she said. "You always smell good." She was 4 years sober, and I had 2 years in Al-Anon, the sister program of Alcoholics Anonymous for families affected by alcoholism. She hadn't known anyone who didn't drink alcohol. I didn't know much different than the dysfunction of my childhood home, splattered with the pain of my swinging 60s parents' drug and alcohol use, rage, and violence. No surprise, my first teenage boyfriend ended up being a heroin addict. Then came Juan, my long curly-haired Latino boyfriend, who was also an addict. After our 2 breakups, my marriage, child, and subsequent separation, Juan and I had a 3rd shot at a relationship. After his miraculous month-long stint in rehab, I was hopeful as I reincorporated him back into my family. Months later, his delusions of alien abductions and his need to place sticks around the house to protect us from the huge praying mantises outside our 2nd-story windows landed me in Al-Anon on humbled knees with desperate open ears. Single at the same time, a rarity for both of us, Nick and I sparkled in conversation. An extra nanosecond of eye contact or light brush of the fingers was underground subculture communication in the gay world to hide affections for safety. She was aware of the subtleties that are missed by heterosexuals, and I was far from subtle. Returning from the changing room, Nick's eyes locked on mine. My next client's eyes were closed, her head cradled in the shampoo bowl, sudsy blonde locks lathered in my hands. Nick's stare simulated her prep for a 400-meter dash. She walked over the starting line and only stopped once her bright, warm lips landed directly on mine. Soft, warm, what? Wait, what? Lingering a fraction longer than our hugs, she pulled away with a smirk and a wave. See you later, and strutted out the door. Thankful my hands moved on autopilot, I woke up to the smell of citrus-scented shampoo and the sound of words escaping my lips. Sorry, there's somebody in my house talking. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a reading. Repairman here at an inopportune time. Sorry. Let's read that again. Thankful my hands moved on autopilot, I woke up to the smell of citrus-scented shampoo and the sound of words escaping my client's lips. Uh-huh, I muttered, hoping it was an appropriate response. There was something so natural about being with Nick. I was magnetized despite logic. The next day, she left me a voicemail. It was nice to see you yesterday, and by the way, nice kiss. I heard the smirk in her voice and flashed back to us standing at the changing room. I had joked about what people do in dressing rooms before embarrassingly pushing it to the back of my mind. A week later, she texted, "Can I come in to get my hair cut a little shorter?" I happen to have time in an hour. Want it? I responded. Thanks, I'll take it. She arrived dressed in an oversized t-shirt and baggy basketball shorts. We hugged and she whispered, "Did you get my message?" I stuttered, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't get back to you about that. I was stunned by that kiss." "Were you?" she asked, as though it was obvious what I invited. "Sorry you have to cut my hair again," she said. "Don't you know I messed your hair up on purpose to see you sooner?" I said. Her gaze reached mine through the reflection in the mirror. I caught it, then looked down to focus on following the lines of my last haircut. "Hey," I deflected. "I know you haven't met any spiritually healthy, sober women yet. I'm going to Agape Spiritual Center tonight, and conscious lesbians are still there. Want to come?" She tilted her head for the first time. She didn't say no. "But I'm in my workout clothes." My eyes sprung open. "Come anyway. It's totally casual. People come in sweats or suits." Her forehead crinkled as she grabbed the moment to think. "Okay, I'll go." "Can you be back by 6?" I said. "Sure." "Good. You might just meet the love of your life there." You're fickle, Joey, I thought. An Agape's 3,000-seat sanctuary of purple velvet chairs and colorful people from all arches of the rainbow. I turned my head to see Nick tearing up as the musician on stage played Angel by Sarah McLachlan. Placing my hand on the smooth fabric of her shorts, I whispered to Nick, "You okay?" "That's my sobriety song. What are the chances?" "That's how things work around here," I said, with synchronicity and magic. My son was at his dad's house, a responsible workaholic who was too busy to take showers. When we arrived back at my salon, I said, "I'm so not done with you yet. Want to get some ice cream?" She lit up with a 13-year-old smile. "I love ice cream." At Baskin Robbins, I ordered gold medal ribbon on a cone. She had mint chip. We strolled the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. I held onto her waist up the stairs of Abercrombie and Fitch. I'm the one that looked 13 that time. After all those years of bi-monthly haircuts, being out with her felt easy and natural. We landed in a midnight showing of Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Through half the movie, her hand traveled past our bucket of popcorn to my pants until her fingers crawled around mine. Sparks splattered the darkness with quiet electricity as my tummy did a series of back handsprings. What am I doing? This is Nick. She's my client. I'm a single mom. My hand tingled with softness and warmth. We shared a long embrace after reaching our cars. "That was such unexpected fun," she said. I smiled and sat back in my black Ford Explorer. A heavy pinball careened between my mind and heart. She leaned through the open window, Julie entering before she did. Her face moved towards mine. Her lips were perfect pillows. I smelled her exhale, clean with a hint of salt. Trying to part my lips with hers, I pulled away gently. I'm sorry I can't kiss you like that. It's too intimate and bears a promise I'm not prepared to make. Her stare was lasered, imparting words she wanted me to hear. If I never see you again, this night has been more than I could have ever dreamed. She kissed my chest and then my lips. Walking away backward, she yelled, just so you know, I am so not done with you yet. We began our weekly Wednesday lunch, not date dates, as I called them. Nick said they were for sure date dates. Our energy lit up the restaurants and cafes we dined in, conjuring curious stares from surrounding patrons. Still, I resisted claiming that we were an us. It wasn't the first time I dated a woman, just the first time since becoming a mom. But after wrestling with a month of our not date dates, I surrendered the resistance and we became a couple. We entered into each other's lives with surprising ease. Shortly after the glow, the bubble burst and soap got in my eyes. In the heat of perpetual custody battles with my ex, he threatened to take my son from me due to my unhealthy relationship choices, stating that I was an unfit mother. I made a decision to wake up my inner Demeter and closet my inner Aphrodite so that no judge could ever declare me an unfit mother. It only cost me my authenticity, vitality, and soulful self-expression. It nearly destroyed us. Unsafe to thrive, unwilling to leave, we remained together. I kept my son, but lost myself again.
Bravo, Joey. That was amazing. We're all giving you a standing ovation. So beautiful. All right, let's bring out the panel. Jenny, let's start. We'll start with Devra, but I want this to be kind of a cross conversation, but let's start with Devra and then bring everybody in if you would, Jenny. All right. Unmute. Okay. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'm just speechless, which is very unlike me. And Joey, you and I have talked in the past. I had no clue this was the writer you are. I am pretty much speechless. And if you're looking for an agent, I want to represent you.
Deborah,
Wow.
just so you know, thank you, God, love you, my hair standing. And just so you know, this is going to be memoir / self-help. So kind of like Kelly's crisis with a formula. There's a formula.
I would not classify it. And I'm going to ask the other experts because as an agent, I hate classifications and categories and all that. I don't see this as a memoir. I see this as the story of your life, just a true story. Memoirs to me are like, from birth to death kind of stories. This is so, and I haven't, and you've got to print it out, mail it to me. I want to read the whole thing. It was interesting, and please, nobody take what I'm going to say wrong because I tend to shoot from the hip, and sometimes it comes out weird. But as a straight woman, always having been straight, and I'm not anti anything, this touched me in a place in my soul. And that's all I can say. Get a hold of me.
Wow.
Okay.
Can I go next? I want to go next.
Yes, Aurora, go.
And I am representing mainstream stories like this now. Just had one released, a mountain climber woman. So don't worry, it's not. I would never put this into a new age category at all.
Oh.
Thank you,
There's
Deborah.
anything wrong with the new age categories. It's just, mainstream, more bang for the buck, but more people. Okay.
Well,
Aurora.
Joey, I wrote down when I got the first chill. And to get one chill out of a few pages is excellent. And then the second, and then the third. I had 5 chills in my
Whoa.
body in just these few pages. It was so moving. I'm straight also, but I could totally relate to this. And then, you ended with the costing you your authenticity and your vitality. So I would liken it maybe to a book like The Glass Castle. Like this could really be amazing.
That's my
it's like awesome. So Deborah's your go-to. The only thing I could think of to add value to improve it would be break up the dialogue so that it's a different person speaking as is normal. So you're probably trying to get it in 3 pages.
Nice.
Great. Nice job, Joey.
Thank you,
Just
Aurora.
amazing.
Wow.
Really
Thank you.
moving. I want to read the rest of the book.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Angela.
Yes. So I personally would be so interested in seeing what your self-help component ends up being. Like if you're envisioning, to me, what that ends up meaning, because this is the world that I'm working in, is that there's some kind of practical application practice component.
There
and
is.
if that's a piece of what you're attempting to do, that would be really interesting to me to see how you're doing that and what those practices would end up being. I also agree that this feels much more like a mainstream project, very much in the personal transformation realm with LGBTQ emphasis. So that's kind of where I would see it being positioned, is that personal transformation. And in terms of the title, my initial reaction was that falling in love with your shadows feels self-help, but something like falling in love with shadows feels more memoir because it has like more of the mystery to it.
That gave me chills.
Yeah. Usually it's like, oh yeah, self-help, get the your in there because you're speaking to the reader and what it's going to do for them. But to me, I almost feel like it would benefit with intrigue by dropping it.
Damn, that's good.
It's good. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. Just really quickly, I've been wrestling back and forth between 2 books. One is my story, and one is more workbookish with like an intro that kind of reminds people what my story is, and then go through the workbook because there is a formula. So I appreciate that feedback
You've
a
got
lot.
2 books, Joe.
You might want to do 2 books. My first book was a memoir, and then I did later a workbook.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And
that's great, Aurora.
It's funny because I started writing a memoir and it became a practical application. So you can start one way and just end up falling into the other.
These books have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thea.
Well, I would just say for clarification, my definition of memoir is it is not your entire life. It is sections of your life.
Yes,
Mary Carr is my heroine when it comes to memoir. And I think that, so that's where I take that from. The descriptions were beautiful. Another straight woman here, but with family that are very diverse. So for me, your book felt like a question of social justice. The timing is so important with everything that's going on. I would encourage you to just get this out. I think having a companion workbook is a beautiful idea. Okay, I'm going to rain on the parade a little bit because I don't know if y'all know I'm an attorney. And so one of the things I really am an advocate of is talking about legal issues for authors. Something that you do need to consider is defamation and invasion of privacy claims. This gets complicated quite quickly. It's my message to you is you do not let bullies stop you from sharing your work, but you're smart about it. And there's some things that you can do so that you're prepared for this. Your agent would help you with this. When you get that great big publishing deal, they're going to have a team of attorneys who would help you with this. There's some other things you can do. Shameless plug. I have a little book I wrote during the pandemic, Authors Beware, Arm Yourself with Knowledge to Help Avoid Legal Pitfalls. And I'll give all of you here a free PDF of it because it's my mission to share this information. And I have a chapter about defamation and invasion of privacy in there. So,
oh my God, please pop that into the chat if you would. We are going to go create and we'll all review it. We practice good author karma, like review by support. So we will. And thank you. That's very generous.
The-
Thank you, Thea.
Can I say something
Yeah.
about this? Because I just went through this with a book that was just released that we literally had the publisher, which was a big publisher, had to destroy all the copies prior to release and change the names in the book because there was a threat of lawsuit from one of their children.
Absolutely. And that's why, I love Kelly talking about taking back your power. You have to take back your power and be educated on defamation of
Yes.
invasion of privacy. It is not brain surgery. Believe me, I'm publishing a memoir by a brain surgeon right now. It's not that complicated. Don't be intimidated by it. There are many publishers/attorneys available for consultation. Yeah.
Angela just put in the chat that she was also going to mention the permissions and disguising within the story. And I know my little shorthand for this is change everybody's names, give the dark-haired person light hair and make them a different ethnicity if possible, makes the short person tall, tall person short,
Right.
whatever, is make them drive a different car. I mean, it's hard when it's a kid and when it's an ex-husband, but
Right.
there's some ways. So thank you, Thea.
There are ways, definitely.
All right.
Thank you so much, Thea.
Much.
Thank
This
you,
was
everybody.
riveting. I love this. Oh my God. All right. Bravo, bravo. Whoo, whoo. All right. Next up is Linnea Richard. So as I'm reading her, Jenny will bring her to the stage. Linnea Richards practiced marriage, family, and child therapy for 30 years. Her journey started with the foreword written by Carl Jung in the I Ching. The idea of an intelligent universe where our dreams, attractions all manifest in perfect synchronicity set her on her path. She'll be reading from her work in progress book of prose. And my dog Pearl wants to say amen to that. She says that attempts to capture the mystery of archetypes as they manifest in their lives. Take it away, Babushka. Linnea's piece is Babushka, by the way. Hit it, Linnea. Can't hear you, Linnea. Let's give it a minute to see. Yeah, it looks like you are muted still. So we'll give it a couple seconds or we'll move on to somebody else and then come back to you. I wish Zoom let us unmute people, but there you are. Phew. Okay, take it away, Linnea.
I'm sorry. I guess I thought Jenny was going to unmute me. Okay.
By
here
the
we
way,
go.
all the authors, nobody can unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. That's a
All
Zoom
right, very
thing.
good.
One of these days I'm going to take it to Congress. Go ahead.
Okay, Babushka. This piece kind of came out of the Ukrainian-Russian war beginnings in 2023, February. Old women of woods and fields know to grow potatoes, cabbages, onions, nourishment. They have lived here forever. Siberia, Latvia, Mother Russia. Old women outlive old men. There are always more women than men. Men work in the elements, farm, forest, enduring long, hard hours. Men seek substances to ease pain, fend off cold, darkness, winter, depression, to fend off trauma of battle. Every generation or two, war breaks out. Men go, women stay. There is a war now. Fewer children born to these men, to these women, to these years. Fewer grandchildren for the next generation. There is a war now. Old women, grandmothers grow things underground, beets, turnips, rutabagas, carrots, life, hope. Women live longer than men, long after years of giving birth. The grandmother gene, they call it. Grandmother tends family. Mother goes to fields, to office, to market. Grandmothers keep children, house, garden, supplementing lost husbands, sons, fathers, lost to war, vodka, depression, suicide. There's a war now. Babushka saves everything. She saves the worn out clothes of her family, her long gone, lost, dead husband's shirts in big, woven, sturdy baskets. It is cold now, storms promised, snow promised. By the fire, she begins cutting shirts, pants into strips, and to long ribbon strips, just right to be caught, hooked, crocheted at the end of her hand-carved wooden hook. She rolls these strips into balls the size of small cabbages, red, brown, green, navy, black. Those were the colors he wore. She can smell his scent in the long worn shirts. The balls roll into a basket, and now too. She begins. She begins with a loop. The hook catches the first crochet loop, then another and another. She always begins with indigo, the darkest blue-black. She quietly says to her quick, skillful, knowing fingers, out of the void, out of the darkness, life spirals. In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of being moved upon the face of the waters, and being said, let there be light. Genesis. Babushka moves her hook through spirals of light. Colors come out of the indigo black beginning, round and round with colors of life, flowers, animals, of seasons, of holidays, sky, sea, tree. The universe started with an infinitely hot, dense single point. Bang! It inflated into time-space. Light gloriously set free, stretching first at unimaginable speeds, then at a more measurable rate. Over the next 13.7 billion years to the still expanding cosmos, the Big Bang. Reverently, Babushka crafts spirals like heavenly bodies' paths around sun, around universe. She continues to catch the next loop around and around in ever greater spirals. What color next? Orange, then blue, then one of Babushka's rugs hangs on a clothesline drying in the summer sun. One of Babushka's rugs, a small one, holds a cat on the arm of an overstuffed chair. One of Babushka's rugs placed at her brother's office door welcomes the dusty worker's boots in a heavy equipment yard. Babushka makes rugs for her small village church, Russian Eastern Orthodox Christian. A handmade round rug lies just inside the vestibule, a welcome to parishioners' feet, the worn, dusty, muddy shoes, the Sunday shoes, shoes of the old, the young, workers, women, men, for the feet of the worshiping as they step into the holy place. They come with their burdens, mostly women. They first step onto the humbly made babushka rug made from the shirts of her beloveds, husband, brothers, sons. Their colors, their smells. Each devotee makes the sign of the cross, tapping head, heart, left side, right. At the next threshold, into the greater sanctuary of worship, the parishioner steps onto yet another of Babushka's rugs, Babushka's holy rugs, made of the spiraling colors of life. From Babushka's holy second rug, one lifts eyes, ears, face, viewing sacred chambers of gold lit with candles, inspired heavenly music, sweet incense, icons of biblical stories cover walls of Jesus, of Mary, of disciples, of prophets. Senses overwhelm. Again, the parishioner pauses, then steps on the second rug into wonder. A priest in oversized golden robes enters ceremoniously, passes each parishioner with burning incense, a small birch branch in his hand to waft the scent, the scented smoke around each soul. Breathe the spirit. Next, he brings a golden bowl of water with another birch branch. Oh no. I'm sorry. I touched something and everything.
I have your last page right here in front of me. Want me to? I'll
Oh.
go until you can find it and then just cut me off.
Oh, okay.
So let's see.
Oh,
Okay, from Babushka's Holy Second Rug, one lifts
okay.
eyes,
Okay,
ears God.
very
Okay,
good. I don't know
all
what
right.
I did.
It's okay. It's technology. Keep going.
From Babushka's holy second rug, one lifts eyes, ears, face, viewing sacred chambers of gold lit with candles, inspired heavenly music, sweet incense. Icons of biblical stories cover walls of Jesus, of Mary, of disciples, of prophets. Senses overwhelmed. Again, the parishioner pauses, then steps on the second rug into wonder. A priest in oversized golden robes enters ceremoniously, passes each parishioner with burning incense, a small birch branch in his hand to waft the scented smoke around each soul. Breathe, spirit. Next, he brings a bowl of water with another birch branch, dips the branch in the bowl with one flick. Cold water hits each face, each head. Wake up, wake up, wake up to the light, the truth, the way. Old women gather firewood, harvest herbs, nuts, mushrooms to store. Don't go empty-handed, she tells her offspring's offspring, eternal wisdom. Babushka shares her bounty with her sisters, neighbors, and they with her. Those who temporarily have give to those who temporarily don't. They celebrate a marriage, a funeral, a holiday, life. Today, a wedding. Women of the neighborhood bring food grown from their gardens, potatoes, cabbages, beets, borscht, crepes, pickles. The summer table awash in colors, smells, food, flowers, glass, porcelain. Toma plays her squeeze box concertina. She sings, all sing. They sing of their river, of their countryside, family, good times, hard times. The new mother-in-law ushers her drunken husband out of the party. He and the groom are the only two men. Toma sings a ballad of a single young woman living next door to a married couple. The three share a banya, a sauna. But why can't you share your husband? The single woman pleads to the patient, tolerant wife. All sing along with Toma and laugh at this tragically funny song. Please, it won't hurt. Just once, I promise, just once share your husband with me. All laugh and the music goes on and on. A little vodka turns songs to dance. Toma plays as she dances. Toma is short, with twinkly blue eyes with Asian features. Her tall, bosomy friend, Irina, bounces over to her and smothers Toma's face between her breasts. all howl with laughter. An altar in a corner by the door holds icons. Jesus, the Christ. We are one in the Christ, it reminds us. Jesus, the babe, held in Mother Mary's arms, a devotion to holiness of family. Jesus, the Pieta, crucified, slain, dead. A beloved son lays across his mother's lap, destined to die way too soon. No time to grieve. Winter is here. Fuel, food need immediate gathering and attention. If winter is long and cold, she takes the animals in to benefit both of them. The mess, the inconvenience worth it for survival of all, of each. There is a war now. Her beloved holy son, born to be sacrificed, sacrificed to eternity, to another land to wander. She knits him sweaters, socks, caps, mitts, a muffler for his journey to his destiny. There is a war now, this winter. It is a mother's job to surrender to what is, to accept life on life's terms as it is. There is a war now, old mothers, dying sons. There is a war now in the motherland, Russia. Yet a fire to be kept, a seed saved, overwintered for life.
Yay, Linnea. Babushka. Oh, that was so powerful. It's so amazing what can happen in 3 pages. My God, the places we can go and the places we can take people. Okay, our panel, you're on. So whoever would like to start, I keep thinking of whoever I'm looking at. Deborah, take it away.
Thanks. It's totally not the kind of book that I would normally read or represent. I will say, to me, I felt like I was listening to poetry. I didn't feel like I was listening to a story being told. I felt like I could almost see, and maybe this is an intuitive Archangel Michael signal I'm getting, I don't know, but I could almost see it as a series of short stories,
That's what she's
more
doing.
so than a book. Oh, that is what she's doing?
Yeah,
Okay, I
this
didn't
is
know
one of
that
them.
to begin with.
Yeah.
Because I'm listening to it going, how could this be a book? You know, somebody way more intelligent than me would follow it. I was having quite a bit of trouble following it until I kind of started almost sectionalizing what you were reading. But to me, it was poetry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed. It has
That's
such a
interesting.
strong meter. And also your voice is very mesmerizing. I could actually see, I would listen to this, like if it was on YouTube, just the little segments or your little snippets of story. What I loved the dun, dun, like you have a beautiful meter. And also I felt really drawn into the parallel between God creating Earth and this woman knitting rugs from her husband's and her brothers and her sons' clothing after they had died. You know, it was so precise in the details. She always starts with the deepest, darkest black, a blue black, and then what color next? And I could just see it. And also, I love the, you know, they bring things from their garden. What did you say? You know, she's bringing beets, turnips. They grow things underground: beets, turnips, life, hope. Like that was unexpected but profound. So lovely.
Thank you.
I agree. I felt like the use of metaphor is so gorgeous in this piece, and it was just one after another, and I kept being like, okay, this is my favorite line. Wait, I think this one is my favorite line, and they just kept coming. Like I love the line, Babushka moves the hook through spirals of light. And I also really liked the shift you have early on that goes from what feels very traditional historical into modern living, where you're talking about mother goes to fields, to the office, to market. It just like caught me of like, okay, this is the past and this is now. And I thought that was really lovely. It's very deeply immersive in the visuals and the senses and in the emotions, which is just really beautiful to see. And I also agree, it felt very poetic, really beautifully poetic. And the repetition that you have is very clear in its intention. It's really effective in its impact. So yes, very well done. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Linnea, I found it to be very lyrical, calming, and grounding. So immediately I threw my publisher hat on the ground and I felt my heart chakra open. And I know then that means this is not a book that I, as a publisher, would feel comfortable working with because it's way beyond, what the scope of what I can, understand. But I definitely think that you should read the audiobook. You have a beautiful voice. And I guess I did pick up the publisher hat for a second because I kept thinking, who is the audience? And I think maybe that, what Deborah was saying about this could be short stories. I think that would help. It's never too, I always encourage authors that I work with, start thinking about who is that perfect avatar, the reader, for marketing and things. But it's just so beautiful. I would definitely love to read it in short pieces before I'm going to meditate or go to sleep.
Yeah, beautiful. I want to just throw in this thought. I'm not reading all the many comments going on in the chat, and I so appreciate everybody in the chat, by the way, but I'm going to just present something Karina Grandma said. Um, she said, "This is so lyrical and mythic, Linnea, while simultaneously honoring the real daily life of women that, oh, where did it go? In families like mine, that they had to leave behind in Eastern Europe and around the world. Love that you're giving voice to this kind of story." Yeah, because I mean, what's timely about this particular vignette is what's going on in Ukraine. And, and there's this war is just going on. I mean, we've got the war in Israel as well that is real, and in Palestine, it's like, my God, just boys that are bred to die, boys that are bred to go to war. And so there's something very timely, and I do like the idea of the short vignettes and you making some YouTube videos with she plays the banjo and all these instruments, by the way, and you are such a performer, and I just want to acknowledge you. Thank you. And she's wearing a scarf, by the way, that she got from her time in Eastern Europe from a babushka. So
I was going to
there we
wear
go.
it like
Oh,
this,
yes. There we go. Oh,
but then
nice.
I thought that would distract me from reading.
Well done. Thank you, Linnea. Brava. Okay, next up is Nancy T. Nancy Telzero. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's one of my besties, who some call Nancy T. But after her near-death experience and cryptogenic stroke, she was more like Nancy WTF. She's a certified Reiki, emotion code, and body code energy healer and professional actress. By the way, she was in a movie about Christmas, The Feast of the Seven Fishes. That's one of those you have to watch every year at Christmas kind of movies, and you'll never recognize her. She's that good of an actress. But no amount of healing or acting role could have prepared her for emerging from the cocoon of selflessness to self-love. The piece she'll read for us tonight is from her work in progress memoir, The Butterfly Stroke, about her healing journey. Her website is nancytelzero.com. And take it away, precious. I call her Tweety Bird. Take it away, Tweety Bird. Honey, we can't hear you. Nancy T, we can't hear you. Start over, please. And there you go.
I thought I did unmute myself, but hey.
All right, there you go.
Look, I just
Hit it.
aged. All right. It's called Spinning Wheels. After being rushed by ambulance to the ER, I was incoherent and babbling. Making sense was fleeting at best. I was taken straight to my room, no waiting. I felt like a movie star in an exclusive restaurant. This, by the way, was the end of my celebrity treatment. Immediately, I was answering endless questions. With each medical provider who entered my room, I got the opportunity to fine-tune my responses. It was a bit disconcerting. They all seemed to come in blind. They went like this: what's your name? Why are you here? Have you ever been admitted for heart issues before? Do you have a history of heart disease in your family? What's the square root of a hypotenuse? What does purple taste like? I was getting befuddled as they continued to grow me, all while connecting me to the blood pressure cuff, an IV, and countless monitors. I had sticky pads all over my chest, ribs, back, and even my legs. I asked the physician's assistant to hold my hand while he typed out his forms. I figured he saw me completely exposed while hooking me up and didn't even buy me coffee. Well, apparently he wasn't warm for my form and was non-compliant. For bedside manner, I give him a 2. All I knew was I was being asked a hell of a lot, considering I was there to get answers. I also thought my rational mind was back online long before it actually was. The case in point, after drinking liquids like a sprinter crossing the finish line and being pumped a steady stream of IV fluids, I had the urge to pee. Maybe urge isn't a strong enough word. I was looking for open containers and was just about to ask my daughter for her purse when I thought she better locate a nurse or doctor or janitor for that matter. Then it hit me. I looked at my daughter with wide eyes and said, what if there could be a chair and on the chair were wheels and you could push me to the bathroom with that? This was the beginning of my Sir Isaac Newton phase. The inventions were flowing through me like water. Speaking of water, ice chips, and the ever-dripping IV, once I emptied my bladder, I broke the seal. It was only a short while before again I needed to relieve myself. Unfortunately for her, I turned to my daughter. Here she was, all signed up to be by my side, but I was forcing her to play the role of advocate. If I wasn't asking her to track down somebody in the hallway in her hoochie shorts, as she called them, I was begging her to round up a blanket, water, a bedpan, snacks, or a potential doctor husband. With each request, she hesitantly helped or pretended she didn't hear me. After my bazillionth ask, she started to say, but our eyes locked, and she saw tears well up in mine. She stopped herself. I knew what she wanted to say. I was like a demanding, needy restaurant customer she dreaded having in her section that didn't even tip well. I was grateful she kept it to herself. When my girl finally did corner a nurse, we were given a bedpan the size of my upper body. The only way I could have used that while lying down would have been if somebody cut a cavern-sized hole out of my bed. Boy, times sure have changed. Last time I saw a bedpan was when I gave birth to my daughter, and either bladders have grown or butts have. I decided to put the bedpan on the chair adjacent to my bed. Not my brightest idea, considering it had a round bottom and could easily be tipped. And to make matters worse, the chair was straight in front of an open door. That meant my daughter was called back off the bench and had to hold the blanket in front of me. Picture Lucy trying to relieve herself, teetering on a chair while Ethel held the blanket with an IV stretched across the room. It was quite an image. Then I sat there and emptied myself out for what seemed like 25 minutes. I kept saying, wow, this feels so good. Thus giving my daughter yet another reason to feel uneasy, not to mention her arms were getting tired. I was seriously concerned it was going to overflow at the very moment the doctor made his appearance. But that MacGyver toilet was big enough to accommodate whatever I could dish out. I finally put 2 and 2 together and figured that's why the bedpan was so big. Well, after meeting seemingly everyone on staff, the doctor came in to give me the report. He leaned back with folded arms, his right leg bent backwards with his foot against the wall, looked me straight in the face, and said everything was perfect. Suddenly, all I could hear was Charlie Brown's teacher. It was white noise for me. He failed to address the monitors that were erratic the entire time I was there, causing my daughter and I to have mini panic attacks. He didn't even mention anything about the inconsistencies in my health. I flashed on a conversation with a friend about the fact that women are often not treated by doctors as serious patients, a belief I've held the majority of my adult life. When I saw his mouth stop moving, It was my turn. I began firing questions at him. I hyperventilated, their term, from the time they picked me up and long into my ER visit. So how could my blood pressure have been perfect? Was it showing normal? Is it breaking even since it had been so low prior? How is it possible my heart could completely stop and there'd be no visible trace of it? Is it that a hospital can't tell when you've recently had your heart flatline if all it did was slow down and stop beating? Maybe it wasn't an actual heart attack, but a heart retreat. I experienced heaven, and that felt like a retreat. Perhaps this is where science and spirituality part ways. The doctor gave me a referral to a cardiologist to do further, deeper tests, saying they were limited in the ER, and sent me home on Christmas Eve. My exasperation was remedied days later when I found out a stroke combined with the fatal reaction to a medication was what ultimately brought me to the hospital. Maybe Western medicine, with its blood draws, monitors, and connections, can't stack up to the connection I had with God and my deceased mother and father. When you spend time in heaven, you realize things in a way you've never understood them before because you don't comprehend them with your brain. You imbibe them in your soul and with your heart and with every fiber of your being. It's all crystallized and new. So, while I may not have been diagnosed on that day, I left with more than a body full of IV fluids. I was wheeled out in my invention.
Brava, Nancy T, Nancy WTF. Oh my God. Okay, let's bring the panelists. Bring on the panelists. Ah, I love that story. Okay, Thea, you're the first one here, so you get to go first.
Well, Nancy, I love your writing. I'm going to be real honest with you. Was so nervous about your health situation because I've recently lost a very dear friend, and so I'm not in the mindset, I think, for Black humor. So I think this would not be a book that I would pick up right now. But that being said, your writing is beautiful. You're very funny. I love it when people can laugh in the face of death. I think near-death experience stories are very important. We're just seeing so many of them now being shared on YouTube and other sources, and I think it's very important because it's proof that consciousness survives. I personally, and maybe again, this is because I'm a sensitive person right now and a mom of four, I would have liked to have known the age of your daughter earlier on, so I wasn't worrying that maybe somebody needed to be keeping an eye on her. But again, I think take all of what I've said with a grain of salt because
No, that's a good point. That's a
Very
good point. Yeah. I didn't
Excellent.
bring it
Yeah,
up. I was trying not to out her.
The
But no,
hoochie
you're right.
shorts. We gotta know how old is the person getting
Right. She's in her
around wearing
30s.
Well, and congratulations on your amazing experience that you learned so much from, and obviously you're doing beautifully. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing your story.
You're very funny, Nancy. You are very funny. I was thinking of My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolte Taylor. Obviously, that would be. And then I was trying to remember the name of a really funny book that's kind of a memoir that's got this kind of humor, but then I wanted to pay attention to what you're saying. So if I remember it, I'll put it in the chat. But it's really funny, yes. But you're right, you do need to frame expectations, but we're just getting an excerpt. So I loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aurora. Great.
I want to read it. I want to read the whole thing. Send it to me. I've got to tell you that 8 years ago, I had a major coronary and they were convinced that, I mean, I walked in the hospital. They said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I think I'm having a heart attack." And they wheeled me back there and told my daughter I probably wouldn't survive another 20 minutes while they got me to the next town to the cath lab, that I was in complete heart failure. And the only thing I could take away from it, which I think you'll appreciate with your humor, was the next day my daughter was saying, "You had a heart attack." And I went, "No, I didn't, because I didn't get to see the white light." And she goes, "You were dead. They said you were dead." So I looked up, I went, "All right, Michael, what the? I didn't get a tunnel. I didn't get a light. I didn't get shit." So I refuse to believe I actually died.
No, you probably didn't. You probably didn't.
You
Just
know,
blacked out for a second.
his
Just had a
comment
heart
back
retreat.
was, "We weren't done with you yet." I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the humor. The all these people asking questions, when I broke my hip, I went through the same thing as the heart attack. What's your name? What's your birthday? Do you know where you are? It's like, didn't I just tell 15 other people the same shit? Leave me
Yeah.
alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, I would absolutely love to read your whole book, Nancy.
Okay, I'll send it.
That's great. Yeah.
And by the
I,
way, I don't read digitally. So when I say things like that, you actually have to print out loose pages and mail them to me so I can redline while I'm reading.
We
Gotcha.
sacrifice a
Okay.
tree in honor of making a big, beautiful book, and it's okay. All
It
right,
all works
Angela.
out.
I have to say, I know this story, like, as Deborah was saying, like experiencing a piece of it. I have lived that bedpan story of like being like, this is way too big, and then midway through being like, I don't know if this is gonna be big enough, and doctors coming in at the same time, and also just the dismissiveness that can be and the gaslighting that can be a part of medicine, and when it's chronic illness or it's an immediate emergency like this. I see it so often in comment sections and support groups online and social media, in the comments and online articles. Like, people need to hear these stories. They're looking for them. And so I think it's just so valuable that you're telling yours here.
They sent me home with a broken hip from the ER and told me to walk on it, that it was sprained. And I did for 6 days,
Oh
thinking
my
I
Oh,
was
God.
dying in pain.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I agree. And I think people, you know, I haven't read the book, but I'm hoping the power of this book is to empower people to be self advocates.
Yeah.
mm.
mhm.
I'd say that's one sub theme, but the just even the spiritual transformation, it pays off. It's worth reading this book. I know the story, so I know how the book's going to be, so it'll be worth it.
Well,
Brava, everybody, thank you.
sometimes spirit will come along and knock you flat on your ass to get your attention.
Yeah, that's kind of
So
how that happened. You're right on the money there, Deborah.
Let me
Yeah.
ask a question just for everybody, because most of the authors that are reading tonight, their book isn't complete, but they've got several chapters. So do you want them to wait until they think the book is done, or should they create a proposal including the part of the book that you've heard? Is that enough to get the conversation started, or do they need to wait until they have the first draft?
I
Angela
don't
and yeah,
Angela and Thea and Aurora could really answer this more. I can only answer from the agent's point of view. I have sold a lot of books on spec.
Yeah.
I always require an intro and at least 4 or 5 complete chapters.
Mhm.
and a marketing plan within that.
Well, the proposal's got to be thorough, yeah.
Yeah.
I would second that.
Okay.
Going off of proposal with sample material, usually, I would say most of the time, I don't have a finished manuscript that I'm looking at.
I found the book that I wanted to recommend that you check out. Let's
Okay.
pretend this never happened. Jenny
Oh.
Lawson.
Oh
Oh
gosh, it's so
God.
good. Yes.
Oh my God, you're right. Okay, Nancy, write that down because
I'm
that's
writing it
somebody
Pretend
to
this
down.
never
compare yourself
happened,
to.
and my stroke of insight. These should be in your marketing,
And
as
okay, and I
examples.
do know that
Yes.
one. Jill Bolte Taylor's, I've got that and know it, but that's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh God, so it's
Yeah.
a cross between both of them. That's great comparison.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Jenny
That is
is
such
really
what a
funny.
That's
nugget.
great.
That's
Thank you.
great.
You helped me with my
Um,
homework.
Yeah, yeah.
Nancy, I'm a hybrid publisher, and so I do allow direct submissions. I have had some agents, represent authors that I've published. So in my case, I think even on my website submission tab, I say, the full manuscript, and that's just basically kind of a time issue with me that I have so many submissions. It needs to be finished. But that being said, I do have some developmental editors who are available. So yeah. But I think you'll find a lot of non-traditional publishers will want the completed manuscript.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
so much, everybody. That's such great feedback and great job, Nancy T. Brava. Okay, next to the stage is the baby of the bunch, Madison Ramirez. So bringing her up to the stage, 24-year-old Madison Ramirez, I call her Maddie, is an art therapist and therapeutic child care specialist at a residential treatment center for foster kids with intense behaviors. The only staff member to have experienced foster care herself, she feels a passion for teaching emotional awareness and coping skills to kids who struggle as she once did. She aspires to create her own after school program to provide a safe, nurturing environment for young students that enforces trauma informed care. In her memoir in progress, Bugs Bleed 2, she'll be reading from tonight, she tells her ruthlessly honest story of how being raised by parents who struggled with mental disorders and her own childhood drug addiction pushed her into an identity of the streets, how she discovered her healing journey with one foot stuck in the mud of pain and self destruction. I love you, Maddie. Take it away, girlfriend. And everybody put on your
Hi.
little, especially all of those super, super sensitive ones, put a little bubble around yourself so that you can hear this because it's going to knock your socks off. All right, take it
Hi,
away.
I'm Maddie. I'm so honored to be here with all of you guys. I just wanted to say thank you, Kelly and everybody. I'm honored to be here with all of you guys are so badass and cool. Okay, let's get started. His car smelled like crayons. I caught a glimpse of him checking his phone. The glow of the screen lit up his sharp features. The man driving was tall and in his late 20s, which was strange considering we were only 16. His bleached dreadlocks fell into his shoulders, and his tall figure slightly hunched over the steering wheel. He shot his face back at us with small green eyes that showed no emotion. Something was off. But that didn't matter because he was our only ride home. My other friends ditched us, and my mom was not going to pick me up from a backyard punk show in San Bernardino at 3 a.m. Not only was it far away, but she'd probably drunkenly speed the whole way just to teach me a lesson. Zombie Man was our only option. Danica had bought weed from him once before, so he was willing to help us out. Danica was my bad friend. She and I did a lot of drugs and hung out with people that we shouldn't have. She had bleached hair, dark eye makeup, and sticky fingers. She craved my craving for chaos and life-threatening situations. She rode shotgun and played Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg through the muffled speakers. My head felt dull from snorting so much Xanax and hydrocodone throughout the night, not to mention the amount of bagged wine in my system. How long until we're home? I forced my voice to slice through the thick tension. Like 30, he grunted. The seatbelt chafed wet against my skin. Time ticked by slowly, and my brain felt flat. We passed the exit. You passed my house. Where are we going? I'ma just stop at my crib real fast to grab something. Don't worry. No, what the fuck? Take us home, I said angrily. Danica shot me a look that told me to calm down. Don't worry, it'll only be a second. The song ended before we pulled in through the black gates of the apartment complex. The crunching of the tires on gravel filled my ears as he creeped into a parking spot. I'm not getting out. I'll wait here, I said with my arms crossed tight. Zombie Man's face looked annoyed. He left the car and returned 10 minutes later to Danica's window. I got this new weed. Come up and smoke. It felt like we were debating with him for hours. He was hardly persuasive, but very stubborn. A part of me wanted to go up just to make the night end. Danica folded. She told me she would be right back, and just like that, poof, she was gone. My ego throbbed. Did he think I was some stupid little girl? This little girl had street smarts. This little girl felt like a grown man on the inside. This little girl was my father's daughter. 15 minutes of trying to breathe into my knotted insides. I was gutted with relief when I saw his blue shirt finally approach the car. I didn't want to be home in the chaos of my mother's instability, but I definitely didn't want to be here. To my surprise, he opened my door. His smile was small as he looked deeply into my eyes. I squirmed back. My friend upstairs wants to meet you. I don't care, I snapped, keeping up my fearless facade. He said he has some money moves for you. There was nothing secretive about my hard exterior. I carried myself as if I was always the most gangster person in the room. I regretted mentioning to him earlier that night that I sold drugs. He figured out what was important to me and was stabbing me with it. My head spun. I wanted to punch him, but a part of me thought that maybe I could convince his friend to front me something to sell. Maybe he'd buy some of my shit, even if it was just to lure me up. I needed the money. It was as if my legs were tied and being dragged, but my skinny arms were holding on for dear life. Every instinct in my body told me not to go up into this man's apartment, but I went anyways. I was tired and I hoped that if I went up, he'd finally take us home. My boots pressed firmly with every step up the rocky concrete stairs to his front door. My chest stung, my knees shook. The door opened to reveal a dark apartment. A black fleece blanket covered the small window, and a round glass table stood awkwardly in the corner. Y'all sit down, I'm gonna get you a drink. He set down a bottle of red berry Ciroc, a jug of pink lemonade, and a few red Solo cups. I know girls like their shit fruity, he added, as if to comfort us. I gave him an evil look. I felt patronized and small. My cheeks were steaming hot. Danica took the bottle and poured herself a glass. Zombie Man grabbed a remote and sat on the couch with his legs spread open. It made me cross mine and close my jean jacket. Suddenly, music was blasting. The fast tempo matched the beat of my racing heart. Come on, girl, show me how you twerk, he insisted. I realized there was no friend in sight. No, I'm not twerking. Where's your friend? Ah, give me a sec. He walked slowly through the door at the end of the short hallway, closing it behind him. Danica, we need to leave, I whispered frantically. Dude, it's chill. Look, free alcohol. She waved her cup close to my face. Her calm demeanor was maddening. My eyes jetted around the room in search of an escape plan. I imagined breaking the window with a metal lamp and screaming for help if I needed it. Creating my backup plan was the only thing soothing me. The door opened and the zombie man stepped out. He walked over to me and I caught a glimpse of what was behind the door. I saw a profile of a dark man sitting on a bed without his shirt on. My friend wants to discuss some money, he gestured toward the back room. Okay, then tell him to come out here. Nah, he wants to talk to you back there. Why? Zombie Man ignored me, and I poured another drink. The faceless creature in the cut of the door chuckled. Come here, little mama, let's talk business. His voice was deep and raspy, his long fingers beckoned me over. Judging from what I could see, he had to be at least 30 years old. The blue color of the night bled through the window behind his crouched over silhouette. I was done. I grabbed my bag and I jumped from the tall ball chair to my feet. Fuck you guys, I screamed as I went for the door. I was surprised to be able to click open the deadbolt with ease. I thought I'd be trapped in there forever. I stole a red Milwaukee pocket knife from the side table before slamming the door closed, as if I was entitled to reparations. I raced down the steps so fast I tripped on the last one. I got to my feet and jetted away, clenching the knife. I sprinted under the harsh beam of the streetlights, once again not knowing how I'd get home, whatever that meant.
Maddie, okay. Let's bring on the panel. Great job. I'm so glad you ran. Okay, as the panel is coming up, let's see, we've got Aurora, we've got Thea. Who would like to go first?
Well, as gritty as this is, I think it's almost every woman's experience at some point, being forced to go somewhere she didn't want to go and feeling like rape or assault or something dark was just around the corner, and that one wrong choice could be devastating. So I like how both you can have your own story, express it with your unique voice, but I think it will resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, brava. Who's next?
Maddie, you're a light worker. You have to write. You're a gifted writer. You have to write. It's fabulous. When I was a young girl in the 70s, I read a book called Go Ask Alice that I loaned to my neighbor, and her mother thought it was so profane and wrong that she ran it under the sink and ruined it. Oh, that made me so mad. But that book was so important to me because I was, a girl that didn't have your experience, but it gave me empathy and it set my life in the direction so I could make the choices that I made that have led me to where I am now. And that's why you're here. That's what you're going to do. I thought it was profound.
Thank you
I
so
have to jump
much.
in for 1 second because I just was thinking Go Ask Alice just today. Maddie's book is Go Ask Alice, except it's got a happy ending. Go Ask
Ah,
Alice
oh, I'm
ends.
so
It's the
glad.
shittiest
Yay.
ending. It ends with her dead.
Yeah.
She
Right.
dies of an
Yeah.
overdose, and Maddie
Yeah.
almost goes there and pops through. I mean, obviously she's alive to tell the
Mm.
tale, but a pretty friggin' close. But I'm so glad you brought that up. That was so important. My mom made me read that book too. Think that
Oh,
and The Best Little
yeah.
Girl in the World. I
Yeah.
mean, who knows where I would have ended up, but yeah, we need this book. Okay, I'm not on the panel. I'm just butting in here.
I'm
Uh,
gonna let you go next, Angela, because
okay.
I kind of want to wrap this.
Yeah, I would say I was terrified for the person in the car. I was screaming no in my head as she left it and went with the driver, and I was very much caught up in the story immediately. Terrified, like I'm emotional right now. Which I think is the sign of extremely strong writing. Sorry.
Never have to
Um,
apologize. Never.
Bugs to Bleed, I think, is a brilliant title. I love that so much. Or I'm sorry, Bugs Bleed 2. I think that's a really good title. There's one line that stuck out to me that I kind of questioned, so I'll just bring that up. It was, I saw the profile of a dark man sitting in a bed with his shirt off. And my immediate question was, is this a darkened demeanor, or is it darkened skin tone? And if it's
It
darkened
was
skin, and if it's darkened skin tone, if that's really a key detail that's important to the telling of the story.
it it was definitely like when I wrote it, I think I was like it was dark because I couldn't really make him out. It was a profile. So
Mhm.
I just said dark because
Angela's bringing up
yeah.
a good point though when it
Yeah.
comes to, I mean, we have people that reread books that from publishing companies to look for things that could
Yeah.
get anybody canceled. And
Right.
because
Yeah.
you're not dark skinned, you got to
Mhm.
be careful about that unless, but keep going,
Yeah.
Angela. That was
But I
a
can
Yeah.
really
change
good
it.
point.
Yeah, that was the only
Seriously,
detail that I
dark
had that I was
demeanor.
kind of like, if it's not important to the telling, you might want to
Yeah.
change that one wording. But very
That's very good
great
point.
writing.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Deborah, hit it.
I I feel like I just listened to my childhood.
Oh.
It moved me. You can't tell now, and Kelly doesn't know this about me, but when I was 16, I was riding with the Hells Angels and just, I thought Betty badass, and have at that time had leapt out of a car with dragging my best friend going 45 miles an hour down a road in San Jose, California, because the guy who was driving it turned out to be this mass murderer they were hunting in the 70s in Santa Cruz. And I knew it intuitively. And Archangel Michael, who Kelly knows I've stalked to since I was 6 years old, said, "Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out." And I was in the back seat and literally had to push her and I out of the car. And of course, when the cops showed up, the only thing they wanted to do was tell our parents that their minor children were out drunk in the middle of the night, instead of me giving them the description of the guy in the car, which would have caught him. So I feel like I was right there in the room with you. I think you are an incredible writer. Um, I can see the light around you. Your aura is amazing, by the way. I would love to have talks with you. You're not done with this book. Um, and I'd like to participate with you in this. I'm not even sure what the hell I would do with it. Uh, but I do have a tendency, if I don't already know an acquisitions editor where I want to place something, I will find them. So I would like to talk to you and just know that, believe it or not, times don't change. This shit still happens and has happened
Yeah.
for forever.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh
That
my
means the
God, thank you.
world.
Deborah, and when are you going to write your book about
I
this,
was going to
by the
say
way?
that. I got chills when you shared your story,
Deborah, you're
Deborah.
next.
That's it. I'm not a writer. I am a great agent.
Oh,
I had to get my best friend to write this book. I just gave her the information. I am the worst writer. Great at talking, horrible writer.
Well, I'm glad you survived. I'm glad you listened to your instincts. And Maddie, I'm so glad that you listened to yours. Yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to add really quick to Angela about the title, just to like put a little bit of like each. I wasn't able to do it in this one because it's
I cut it off. That blame it
you
on
cut
me.
it off,
I
but
cut
each
off the bugs.
chapter
Has a
it
bug.
because I used to feed ants when I was little, and I write about that in the first chapter, and every chapter kind of goes back to like me seeing a bug and like somehow like so that's why bleed to is the title, and
I love
it's
it.
always going to come back to some sort of bug.
Yeah.
So
We've
It's
all heard of
intriguing.
save the cat. Now Maddie's going to bring the distinction save the bug. And Maddie's, you show them your tattoos. She's got bugs
oh,
tattooed.
I have ants going into my ear all the way down my arm. A trail of ants. Yeah.
I love that you're threading it through like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Bravo. My goodness. Okay. Next up is who is up next? Oh my God. I got so caught up. All right.
Can I just
Please,
say before we
Louise.
go next
Yes.
up, real
Yes.
quick, I wanted to share a gift book to everybody, seeing as they started with that. So I put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, Jenny Murphy is next, and I am looking for her so I can spotlight her because we can't spotlight ourselves, apparently. So, oh, but she just did.
I
Okay,
just
awesome.
spotlighted myself.
God, thank you, God. All right, Jenny Murphy, let me tell you about her. She's an author whose storytelling has touched the hearts of readers worldwide with her contributions to the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And you can see some of those book spines behind her. Point, Vanna White. Her gift
right
for
here.
capturing the essence of the human connection and highlighting the beauty and humor of life's little moments resonate with all who read them. Today she's reading Dropping the F-Bomb on My Mom, a story from her work in progress memoir, The Swear Jar, a mamalicious collection of stories centered around her mom and her mom and other moms along the way. Her website is bookjunkie.org. Take it away, Jenny.
Why, thank you, Kelly. Thank you for everybody for being here. Thank you to the writing group that's been so wonderful and supportive. Dropping the F-bomb on my mom. Growing up in my Midwestern Irish home, smoking and drinking were the norm. Cussing was forbidden. My mom charged me per cuss word. It was 25 cents a word unless it was a big word, string of words, or said with the sass of a teenager. Then the price went up to $1. My mom's idea of swearing was, oh, shinny, or poke-a-doo-doo. Oh, that's so unsatisfying. I would get busted for saying what the hell, which was more of a question than a cuss word. Her requests for payment were met with more four-lettered words. The next thing I knew, she was using my full name, Jennifer K. Murphy, that will be $1. Her fake fury was worth the price. There was a line that I would never, ever, ever, ever cross. Using the F word would be met with genuine fury, and I was afraid of the price. My high school bestie, Val, was a 6 foot tall blonde, pencil thin, pom pom girl, and an honors student to boot. She would sit at our kitchen bar chatting with my mom while puffing on a Marlboro Light. Knowing that she was exempt from the swear word tariff, she taunted me by casually sprinkling cuss words into the conversation. It was infuriating, but I was accustomed to these minor injustices. 30 years later, I was sitting at the Hollywood Bowl waiting for Dolly Parton to come on stage when I received the news Mom was in the hospital. This wasn't her first stroke, but would it be her last? The stacked parking ensured I wasn't going anywhere. Dolly took the stage, and it was like she had a customized message for me. You should never be ashamed of your family or where you came from. Faith in God is what keeps you going. If you're blessed to have a good mother, that's one of the greatest gifts God could bestow on you. An otherworldly peace came over me. God had sent me an angel in a blonde wig and a tight white rhinestone jumpsuit to prepare my heart for what was to come. The following morning, I drove to Phoenix, praying for 5 minutes with my mom as I knew her. Just 5 minutes, God, that's all I'm asking for. Please, please don't let me miss her. When I arrived at the hospital, Mom was babbling, biting, and wanted to take her nightgown off and run around naked. When she was coherent, her comments were biting. You're too fat to wear my clothes. You've always been a strange one. No one but my dad was spared. We nervously laughed it off because we'd heard it all before when she was drunk and we were alone with her. In a weird way, it was a relief to hear her say it in front of everyone else. We left the hospital fully expecting a phone call during the night to inform us that she had expired. The next morning, Dad and I braced ourselves as we arrived at the hospital. We stood outside the door as Mom shuffled across the room using a walker. She cheerfully greeted me, "Well, hi, sweetheart. What are you doing here?" She had no memory of the night before. I took great pleasure in teasing her about her bad behavior and insisted that she owed me $1,000 in cuss word money. She didn't agree. That afternoon, the doctors informed us cancer had spread throughout her body. In her strictest voice, she said to me, "This is part of life. I want everything to be normal. No fussing over me, period." To keep the facade of normal, I pretended each visit was a girls' weekend with Val. Every time I left her, it was like putting my heart in a blender because I was saying the final goodbye over and over and over. And each weekend I returned to less and less of my mom. One day, as I was headed to Mom's, Val said, "Hold on a minute," and wrote out a Christmas card to take to my parents. It's a fancy blue and silver foil card, blank on the inside except for Val's handwriting. "Merry fucking Christmas. You two are so loved. Thank you for having Jenny 49-ish years ago just for me. And to keep things real, cancer fucking sucks. You two are always in my thoughts. Love, Val." P.S. Here's $2. I think this should cover the cuss words. My parents read the card and laughed through their tears. It immediately had status as a family heirloom. It was shown to everyone who visited. A few days later, Mom said in her sternest voice, "Jennifer, your friend, can't remember her name, but she owes me more money. $2 isn't enough." Mom had been in a coma for several days when I made the last trip home. My family was gathered around her hospital bed, my niece laughing and teasing her. Slowly, we could see the life in her face. Partially paralyzed, she was doing her best to give one of her infamous dirty looks. My niece excitedly called, "Aunt Jenny, look!" Hearing my name, Mom said clear as crystal, "Jenny, quit cussing." I couldn't breathe for a moment. I wanted my mom as I knew her one last time. I'd do anything. Taking a gamble, I said a cuss word. The half of her lip that worked curved up in a smile. It was all the encouragement I needed. I dropped swear word after swear word. She was amused and her smile grew with each one. There was only the F word left. 49 years old, and I couldn't say it in front of my dad. So I leaned over and quietly dropped the F bomb in her ear. With that, her eyes popped open, and my mom was with us. It was an effing miracle. I whispered in her ear, "I love you. Thank you for being my mommy." Despite our last conversation, including the F word, she still said, "I love you, baby." The best effing words ever.
Yay, Jenny Murphy, Jennifer K. Murphy. All right,
I,
can we bring in the
but one
spotlights?
second, I
All
have
right.
in the house Valerie,
Oh,
who's
you've
in the
got
story.
Valerie! Who's
I've
in
got
the
Valerie.
gorgeous blonde? Oh my God.
Valerie
Effing
who wrote the
Val.
card.
Yeah.
creating a family heirloom. Well, how wonderful to have you here.
And Val, you've heard about it in so many stories. So, okay.
Invaluable.
Invaluable. Exactly. Okay.
Beautiful. All right, bring on the panel.
I will bring on the
But
panel.
we're going to go over a few minutes here because we have one more author left. So everybody hang in there. We're coming around the edge. All right. So Deborah, while you're in there, you get to go first while I tend to Pearl.
That's really good. It's not something I would represent because it's just outside of my wheelhouse completely. I think it's very well done. Um, having been the only girl in a Jewish family, if you said shit, my parents would have a heart attack. So I totally get it. I think a lot of people would relate to it. I think this could be hey, hey, you publishers, this could be a really, really good selling book.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay.
I agree. And as a Midwesterner with a Midwestern mom, I found it just so intriguing. And I want to hear more. I want to read more. The complexity of that mother-daughter relationship, especially, for women our ages, I totally related to it. I was thinking about the research that I shared with my own mother, that people who curse, it's been shown they usually have higher IQs. And one of the things I loved about my own mom was I taught her how to use the F word, and she would just slowly draw it out. So I think this is a very marketable book. I loved your writing. I thought you had a good mix between humor and seriousness. And I'm excited to hear what are the spiritual, metaphysical lessons that you can put like a straight theme on and share with us.
We call
Thank
Jenny
you.
our own personal Irma Bombeck, and because her mom is like this, the Days of Wine and Roses character, like who's afraid of Virginia Woolf, like kind of like Judy's mom in the way that we envision that. And Jenny's got this wholesome little snarky character that's, Irma Bombeck in the end. Okay, who else?
This was an example of a couple of pages that had a very strong beginning, middle, and end. Well done. So
Thank
it
you.
really was, yes. I was really with you. My mom passed somewhat recently, so I could really connect. This is a good example of write something that really moved you and you were able to move us. There were two things, little tiny transitions that bumped me out of the story. So I think you could,
The Zoom. That was fabulous.
You could consider adding a sentence or something. You're too fat to wear my clothes. I'm like, what? She's wearing her mother's clothes? Or is her mother saying, after I die, you'll be too fat to wear my clothes? That maybe needed another sentence, or maybe you just could lose that a sentence because it's not necessary. The other bump for me was I got your high school bestie, but now you're 49. And the that it's the same vowel, like it felt like it needed another sentence. I mean, I moved every 2 years of my life, so it's not in my way of thinking that you would still have your high school bestie in your life when you're 49. So just a sentence, because Val is an important person to you. Like, obviously, she's right there with you. So that would help me not be bumped out when she's writing that card.
Thank you so much for that feedback. I so appreciate it.
Great.
You're welcome.
All right.
I had one other line that kind of drew me out of being immersed in it, and it was when you say that she was using your full name, Jennifer K. Murphy. I immediately was like, what does the K stand for?
Yeah, I did that too.
I'm assuming that's standing for a full middle name. If it's not, fine to leave it as is. But if K is actually standing for something, I would enter that in there so that you actually are telling your full name.
Thank you. It's K-A-Y. So 2 additional letters. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Overall, I thought this was so sweet and funny. I totally could connect to the feeling of like pre-grieving the grief, or pre-grieving the passing, I should say. The thread felt really strong throughout, and I really love this title too, The Swear Jar. It's like so succinct, and you kind of know it feels a little bit like it has that humor to it right from the title. So I think that's really great too.
Yay!
Thank you
All right.
guys
Well
so
done.
much. Thank you,
You're
thank
so
you,
welcome.
thank you. Thank
Great.
you.
Great job, everybody, panelists. All right, now we have one more reader. And so this is, speaking of moms, this is my mom, Julie Sullivan. So she is a former middle school teacher for 30 years, a wife for 56 years, and a mother of 5 daughters, and a grandmother to a grandson. She'll be reading tonight, or actually, she won't be reading it. Somebody else is reading it, but I'll get to that in a second. Her piece tonight is from her work in progress memoir in rhyme about growing up in the aftermath of World War II, entitled Salt in My Coffee, 50 Poems about a Baby Boomer's Life in the 1950s. Her website is juliesgems.com, and it's JEWELIES, gems, GEMS. Or no, it's actually, I'm not sure. It's either JEMS. I'm not sure. Somebody will have to check on that. But Nancy T, so Julie is a great reader, but technology gets a little funky sometimes. So Nancy T is going to read Julie's piece. So we'll have both of them on the screen as Nancy reads it. So last but not least, take it away.
This piece is called Chasing Rock and Roll by Julia Sullivan. One October afternoon in 1956, my Girl Scout meeting convened. My troop was making decorations and carving pumpkins for Halloween. One scout asked me if I'd heard of Elvis, a singer from Mississippi, and I said no. None of us had heard of Elvis Presley, but he would be on the next Ed Sullivan's show. I wasn't too interested at first since I was not a teen yet, but I asked my parents if I could watch Ed Sullivan on our little brown TV set. My mom said she would allow it, but was somewhat concerned. There were critical comments about him she had just learned. The next Sunday night, my parents and I watched at 8 o'clock. Ed Sullivan's audience was excited and ready to rock. When we saw him finally, I was amazed at all the screaming. These girls were half crazy. I thought I must be dreaming. Every time he smiled or moved, they would all scream again. And when he started singing Hound Dog, it was screams times 10. My conservative mother was disgusted with his pelvic moves, and my dad was even more appalled by his grinding grooves. But I was mesmerized and thought the music was cool, yet I didn't understand what made these teen girls drool. By the time I was 12, I'd caught the music bug. My friend Connie and I sang songs on the radio and could really cut a rug. My mother complained the music I listened to had no melody. Elvis, by this time, had been drafted and was serving in Germany. My mother had forgiven him his freaky hips since he was in the army now. She adored the big band era and wanted me to love it like she did somehow. She didn't realize how attached each generation is to music loved by their peers. We were often at odds through much of my teen years regarding my musical spheres. After school each day, I religiously watched American Bandstand. Teens were spellbound by this popular Philadelphia show all across the land. My friends and I copied their new dance moves and got crushes. Teen idols sang their hearts out and got swoons, love, and gushes. My mother took me and a friend, Patty, to a rock and roll show when we were 13. The headliners were Frankie Avalon, Dwayne Eddy, and 2 teen queens. The arena was packed, so Patty and I sat cross-legged on the floor. The music began and Patty started howling from her very core. The show was great, but my legs had fallen asleep during the concert. When the hoopla ended, I feared I'd be trampled and did nearly get hurt. Everyone got up and ran outside to see more. After a minute, my legs woke up and we joined out the back door. The music idols were getting into limos, trying to get away. Though Patty and I were darn near run over, we still had an exciting day. This was a teenager's dream that no youngster would regret. How we found my mother in the pre-cell phone era was a miracle I won't forget. In 1973, my daughter Kelly was 5 and loved to dance. She fell in love with Elvis, who put her in a trance. She couldn't get Jailhouse Rock out of her head. I found her dancing to it while jumping on my bed. I wondered how much younger his fans might be. Elvis was a charmer, and this I guarantee. I miss those rock and roll years when Elvis was king. Music was everywhere, everyone would sing. He was a 50s sensation and quite famous, I'd say. And I'm so glad to still hear the king of rock and roll on the radio today.
Yay! Oh, I wish we had music in the background. That was great. And look at Nancy's cute little scarf. She got in character. Well
right.
done, Nancy T. Good reading and great piece, Julie. All right, let's bring out the panel. And I see my sister Janine in the background. Hello, Janine. All right. Take it away. Jenny. Maybe I just can't see. All right.
Well, that was a lot of fun, and it really transported me to that time. And my gosh, how much effort you put into making it all rhyme. Well done.
Not a single F-bomb in the whole piece. No.
No F-bombs.
All right.
I love the rhyme. I've gotten some submissions like that, and it just had a terrible beat, but yours did not. So I thought it was strong because you've got that, there's a fine line between cheesy and really clever and lyrical, and I thought you did a great job. I see it as a whimsical book, so I'm thinking about, well, how would I format that? Ooh, some illustrations, nice line drawings, some kind of movement, in terms of how you would design it. And so formatting would be key. And I just want to say overall, I am so uplifted by tonight. I am so impressed with the quality of everyone's writing. I just think it's outstanding. And hats off to all of you. It's great job.
Thank you, Thea. I know, what a diverse group,
Yeah.
huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I loved this. My brain pretty quickly went to The Night Before Christmas because it's like such a story, like a traditional story retelling, so that sense of nostalgia came just with the cadence and the rhythm that was here. But I felt like your writing balanced the actual topic so nicely. Like what Theo was saying, it didn't go into like cheesy mode. It was very you're you're the Clement Moore of today. It's like not the traditional kid story, but it's like this authentic telling of self. And I just thought it was just so joyful.
Thank you.
I could totally see this book with illustrations. Thea, you're absolutely right. But what I kept seeing was the title being, because I don't know about other boomers. I am happy to be a boomer. But there's suddenly this, I mean, even on these celebrity uh chef shows, they're doing this whole stuff around boomers. And it's almost like if this had the right title, like Boomers Boom Back or something, I don't know.
Even as the
This could be
subtitle.
a really good selling, gift book, a Christmas book.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
great.
I got the title from my mom. My mom always wanted to write a book about Alaska, and she said she would call it Salt in My Coffee. So that's why,
It'd have to have a subtitle of something
yeah.
about boomers. And
Right.
yeah.
That's great. That's a great suggestion. Oh my goodness. I think this is it. Okay, so yay, Julie, and yay, panelists. I want to thank Thea Rademacher from Flint Hills Publishing, Angela Wicks from Sounds True, Aurora Winter from Same Page Publishing, and Deborah Jacobs from Dancing Word Group. This has been such a dance. I think everybody needs to find listen to Rock Around the Clock or something when we get off here. And
Well,
again, I
let's
want to
acknowledge Kelly just before she runs us all off, because
Yes.
you have really mentored or helped to bring these projects along, because they were at a much higher caliber than I was expecting for 12 weeks. So that is kudos to you, Kelly, and your influence and the wonderful women that you attract. So well
thank you
done.
so much. Thank you so much. So one last round of applause for Judy Brooks, for Joey Sutton, Linnea Richards, Jenny Murphy, Madison Ramirez, Nancy T, and did somebody else get lost in here? Did I miss anybody? I think I got My
Kiss your
mama,
mom.
Julie Sullivan. Julie Sullivan. Or so as I mentioned earlier, I want to thank everybody, first of all, for sticking with us. I know we're a little bit over the hour. This has been so much fun. This was the first time I've done a workshop just like this, and I feel like I want to do more just like this. Was so fun. I learned so much from my wonderful panel and the celebrity publishing professionals. And I learned so much from all you writers and your generosity of spirit and heart. I feel so uplifted and inspired. If there's anybody who's watching or listening later and you're feeling like, I want that, I'm having a little FOMO, I'd like to be a little, I think I'd like to do some of that. My little offering to everybody here at the back of the program that I've given, and maybe Jenny, you could post it in one last time in case somebody came in late. I have you can join our next author showcase, which starts next Tuesday, and you get $50 off if you want to do that, just for being here tonight. So you just email me and tell me that you were here tonight, and I will give that to you. Also, one last shameless plug, I have my Dreamifesting workshop coming up. This is based on the new book that Deborah Jacobs just sold to St. Martin's Press. So Dreamifesting Live, it's all about how to let your dreams do the heavy lifting of all the good things that you want to manifest in your life. And that workshop's coming up in September. So at the back of your program, you also can get $50 off of that workshop that's coming up. And from the bottom of my heart and soul, I so appreciate everybody's kind and wonderful and energetic attention, all the wonderful chat going on, everybody who's been so kind and generous and loving and supportive. That's the way to do it. This is the way I want to do it. Milestones along the way. So writing doesn't have to be such a torturous, solitary confinement. It can be in a communal environment. So as we are lifted, all are lifted. It's not just about us being empowered. As we are empowered, we create a field where all are empowered. And my God, this world needs it right now. So keep on writing and don't take your dreams lying down. And until we all meet again, may your wildest dreams all come true. And I am inviting the authors to stick around in the green room while Jenny finds a way to bid everyone adieu. And if you have any questions for me, my email is kelly@kellysullivanwalden.com. So thank you again so much. We need some like boogie music. Put on my red shoes, or put on my jailhouse rock. I don't know that that's appropriate for tonight. Put on my blue suede shoes. That's it.
There you go.
I'm dancing. I'm dancing. I'm dancing. I'm gonna stop singing, but I don't know how to bid everybody adieu. So maybe this is just, I'm always Nancy Tino's. What?
They're just gonna have to say bye-bye and just walk on out.
Goodbye. I know, Nancy knows I am the worst goodbye person. I spend hours at goodbye.
We call that a Kansas goodbye. So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody.
Mwah, thank you,
It was wonderful to meet
Thea.
you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.
Blessings.
You were wonderful. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye, so long, auf Wiedersehen, good night. Boop, 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 boop. Is there a way to send us into the green room, Jenny? Oh, right, okay. I see Cassie Telzero.
This is like romper room.
with the hoochie mama shorts. All right, I'm going to stop the recording at the very least. Okay, that was so much fun.